to the stop. You come out to the stoplight.
All right. Okay, so welcome, everybody. We're waiting for John. He'll join us in a couple minutes. Update is your recommendations along with the one that I added for you, Doug, which was explore the taxes. It's not on this copy, but it is number 7 on the one that's going to Planning Commission tonight and to City Council on Monday morning or Monday night. So they'll go to City Council for discussion on Monday, and then August 2nd, hopefully they'll ratify it and we can full steam ahead, move forward with everything. So next step then is how this committee wants to move forward. And the steering committee, the implementation committee, talked yesterday morning about having this Clemson Next committee basically join the city's economic development committee. So there's just one committee,
Excellent idea.
and that these 3 or 4 projects that we've identified through Clemson Next become the top projects you're working on through the city advisory committee. Does that sound appropriate or like it would work for everybody?
Yes.
All right, I
Absolutely.
got some yeses in person. Nikita, Yolanda.
Hi,
Greg?
good morning. I'm gonna say yes, even though I'm brand new. It sounds like a great idea.
Okay. And what we talked about is maybe there's some roles or additional folks that need to be on that economic committee, just to make sure it's broader and kind of hits the entrepreneurs and a bunch of different
Yeah.
folks.
And I'll summarize a little bit about what we talked about yesterday. And because there's 3 committees, there's the joint Clemson University City Committee, which really doesn't do much. It's more of a communication liaison.
Mhm.
And then there's this, which is really strategic and thinking about long-range planning. But the advisory board is where I think most of the action items end up getting implemented.
Okay.
We talk about how to implement the ideas. So they actually kind of work well together. If the Clemson Next and the advisory board
Okay.
combine, because that's where all the action will eventually end up.
Okay. Does that make sense to everybody? I will talk with Andy and work with Doug to figure out. I know that advisory board hasn't been meeting since COVID, so how to get that restarted.
And I know
Regular meetings.
we've lost 2 members that I don't think have been replaced yet.
Okay.
The city does that in a certain way,
There are bylaws for it.
Right.
For replacing.
so there may be something Andy has to get done to make it where we can either be called a joint meeting of both,
Mhm.
or they'll have to change some bylaws to make it happen.
Well, if we need to add people that cannot join because of the bylaws, we'll just call it a joint meeting.
Okay.
And
Right.
It'll be
It would be beneficial to do it all at once,
okay.
for sure.
All right. Is everybody good with that online?
Yes, Shannon, when do you think the earliest would be for us to get that completed?
I'm going to present that as an informational tidbit for council on Monday night too. So then I think if they ratify everything on August 2nd, we're good to go in August and move forward with this in August. So we can, if you guys want to talk about meeting times and dates today, we can do that and get that on the calendar, and pending that everything moves forward, we can move forward in that way.
Yeah, the advisory board typically meets 3rd Thursday of the
Okay.
month, every other month.
Okay,
Would you guys be willing to at least meet monthly since you have some of these
Yeah,
projects?
I think so.
Yes.
Okay. So 3rd Thursday of the month, is there a typical time?
12:30.
Yeah, I think it's lunch meeting.
Okay,
I'm gonna be completely candid when I say this. There are some people on the economic advisory board that are in there as citizen roles,
mhm,
and they're really there to be economic stifling positions.
okay,
I mean, just.
They attend, but they're
The reason they have joined the board, the reason they asked to be on the board and applied to be on the board was they were part of the squeaky wheels that want to stop everything.
okay,
So I'm not gonna call anybody out by name, but there is a diverse group of people on the board.
Mm-hmm.
There's some business people, some bankers, blah, blah, blah. And then there's some retired citizens that don't want any change at all.
So I guess we need to look at what are the terms, because we're new people appointed this year, and what are the terms of, because it's a 3-year
I'm not
term,
sure
right?
The person you're talking about, I'm not sure that she's actually on the board. She just attends because it's a public meeting.
Okay. Well, there was,
I'm not.
there's
right?
more than one that I was speaking of. I mean.
All right, well, we'll
well,
circle
I-
back to
I
that.
just wanted to,
We will circle back to that.
I just want to say that
And I'll pull up at the end of the meeting, the bylaws for that board. We'll
Yeah.
pull them off the city website and see what we
Sounds
have.
good.
All right. So we'll circle back to that later. So really some of the projects that we could start working on, one that I think there might be a path forward with, and Susan's not here, but she was big on the whole e-commerce video photo studio. I think that's something we might be able to work with the Art Center on, because they do have that type of, they have the video software, they have some of the photo editing software, they do those classes. That might be an easy, if there was somebody, I can reach out to Susan and see if she's willing to head that up, but that might be an easy place to start. And if the city already has some of that stuff, maybe partner with them and see if they'd be willing to partner on that.
that sounds great.
Yeah.
Okay, I will reach out to Susan about that, unless Nikita, Yolanda, Greg, any of you have some input on that. Okay. So the other two that this group could really move forward are the idea of the business improvement district and the business incubator. So I was looking up, trying to get some ideas about different incubators, and I pulled up this one that kind of pulled up an article that gave an example of 3 different incubators in South Carolina. I put that link on there, and I think I sent it to y'all. Let me see if I can pull it up. There's my cursor. So it talks about the one in Charleston, or in Mount Pleasant, the Harbor Entrepreneur Center, which is really about accelerating small companies. Talks about the next facility in Greenville, which is a lot larger than, I think we're in, more manufacturing oriented. And then it talks about one that is in Columbia that's a partnership with USC, which might be more of what we want to look at, that type of model. So it says basically it has traditional workspace for rent. It has a boot camp program. It has a tech incubator and some biotech companies that have started over there, but it's more of a joint university town. Is that what you guys are thinking? Or are you thinking more of just town community oriented?
I think that if we were to ignore the university in a business incubator or a tech incubator, that would be foolish.
Yes.
It's a resource that, I mean, they've already got the think tank downtown. They're working on this independently of us. If we could shirt tail this up with them, it seems like a win-win.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think it needs to get a springboard to the Hero Institute, for example. They're not as integrated with communities.
Okay.
There's this other thing that the JCUAB is talking about, and that's trying to build a platform for international business. So an incubator for international businesses.
Okay.
Which is sort of in the line of incubator, but not to the point of being resources for entrepreneurs. This one was more of a resource for entrepreneurs, and if it could work jointly with the university, it'd be that, and then have some of the tactical implementation pieces as well. That would be pretty cool. Are we big enough a community for it? Or are we just looking at
Well, if you also
Shannon.
involve yes, Catherine, or who is that? Nikita.
One of the issues that I've had a very difficult issue that I've had is connecting with the university as well. So I completely support what the two gentlemen just said. If there is any way on this earth that we can connect with the university incubator, I would like that so very much.
Okay, noted. So I will reach out. I'm actually meeting with Johnson Link about some other things next week, and I will get his take on,
We have a meeting next
You
Thursday,
have
so
one
we
with him
can
too?
make that a topic on the agenda.
yeah, so if we could all kind of start talking about who needs to be involved and what parts of the university might want to be involved, and then we could set up some meetings going forward with the right people in the room.
Agreed.
Okay.
Shannon, this is
Yes.
Catherine. I've just sent you an email that we can talk, but I want to tell everybody that part of what I've been working on is the entrepreneurship side of this, not just the incubator. And so we can have partnerships with Tri-County and with Southern Wesleyan are ready to jump on board. SWU is particularly interested in some options, including space. And also I've got a meeting next week with Anderson. So I can't always speak for how the university will be involved. My meetings with Max Allen are somewhat frustrating because of the issues that everybody says. And having been part of this world for a while, I can agree with that. But anyway, I just wanted to let everybody know. And sometime next week, I guess, Shannon, if you and I can meet, then I'll be ready to send a proposal to everybody.
Okay. Yeah, if you're already building some of those bridges, it makes sense to use that and keep everybody involved. All right, so anything else? So the business incubator will start to move forward with trying to figure out some contacts, work with Catherine and what she's doing. The business improvement district, I think, is going to be led by all you guys in this room. So what are your thoughts on that? And I did have some feedback from some people on the implementation committee about how to expand that to be more citywide or more inclusive instead of just downtown businesses. I don't know what kind of outreach we'd have to do to bring other business owners in. But thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I have a lot of energy around this particular one because I think there's some value in marketing our community businesses to the community. There's a lot of, unfounded beliefs about how you can access businesses that are in certain areas.
Mhm.
That I think we could dispel with an alliance, with a marketing effort, with a branding. You think about that Greenville and where they've gone with what they've done there. Obviously, we're not the same scale, but we could do some things. We could partner with the Chamber of Commerce as well as maybe a marketing group to help us with our message, develop some objectives as to what we want to accomplish. What times of the year, because there's certain times of the year don't bring us more business, but there's times of the year where we're dying, right? So the focus can be really around tourism and summer and visitation and all those various things. And if we put a good effort around it, we could create.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say fall is the season where you don't need more business.
Right.
So this would be a good time to start planning and then maybe implement things for the
Right.
spring and summer. Is
Yeah.
that?
I agree.
And if you were to put on and count your steps and walk around downtown Greenville, you could easily walk from the intersection 93 and College all the way to Pixie and Bills.
Mhm.
It would be the same walk, but our perception in Clemson is that's two separate districts.
Mhm.
And as we expand and grow, and if we are successful in getting some sort of other business that's not commercial retail or hospitality, those businesses are probably going to locate a little further from the downtown business district. And we got to find a way to tie the whole area together. And it's not that far. But we got to make people perceive that it's not that far.
So we might want to tie this in with a project that the traffic committee is working on actually, which is wayfinding and signage that would be consistent throughout the city, maybe into the university or around the university, but would be actually better physical signs, how far to get to different places if you're walking, but also digital. So you'd have the, whatever people use, it's integrated into their digital mapping, or we've got QR codes of this is how you get here, this is a walk to get there, but better once you're out of your car, maybe some reasons to keep you out of your car.
Yeah.
And for parking too, like, so the parking would be integrated in with that as well,
And
directing people to
I
parking.
totally think that we need to put forth some effort to include the businesses that are not directly downtown. You know, these, they're not, because
There's kind of three main areas. There's downtown,
Mhm.
there's 123 corridor, and then there's Patrick Square. I mean, you can go up to
Yeah.
Central on
Yeah.
93 too.
Yeah.
Would you say
That would be
93?
maybe a fourth key area, right?
So maybe around that first meeting that we tried to put together, it's more of an open meeting. And I mean, if I have to take flyers out or
Yeah.
invite all the local, somehow through the chamber, get invitations out to all the local business owners, maybe we can find a way to get at least one representative on that committee from each area.
Each of the areas.
And
Yeah.
years ago, when we were, before ClemsonNext was implemented, there was a town hall meeting, and Todd Stedman said that in the future, the water park down there, that plaza, would be the center of town,
Mhm.
because there's no more room downtown, so it's gonna push that way. And it's probably gonna prove to be right. So we know that the businesses that are gonna go up that way is, and that will further connect the 123 corridor to it. But we need to find a way to tie that all together. And part of that's going to be transportation. But it can be messaging too. Like I said, you know, anybody that goes to any other, and all these towns are larger, but when you go to Greenville or Spartanburg, and once you park your car, you know,
Yeah.
that's it. And then in the worker bees in all those big cities, in the tech industry, or in, you know, they're using intellectual strengths to make profit. Those places, those people that work there don't move their car once they get there.
Mhm.
And so that's the kind of thing we need to think about, is how we can get to tie the entire city together in a big bow that is easy to access. And, you know, like, we're still coming out of COVID, and there's still places that once did a booming lunch business and no longer do it. There's places that are limited hours. Retail doesn't open until 11 instead of 10. You know, there's a lot of stuff that's going on, and getting the workers, and this may never change, but so many people are doing work, aren't working from an office anymore. So
Mhm.
that you lose that customer. Every person that works in Clemson becomes a client to somebody. So if we could just tie it together to a point where it becomes an interesting and fun place to work. It would be an interesting, fun place to have your business headquartered. And I'm not talking about another t-shirt store. I'm talking about a business
Mhm.
that would employ people, use their minds. I mean, like I've said 100 times, no on-site heavy industrial manufacturing, but easily headquarters kind of thing, and entrepreneurs who've come up with a new product that they're going to build somewhere else, but they're going to design here. But those worker bees that work in those places need to know that they can not move their car and visit the tier down businesses.
So get the chamber involved in this. Do you think this is like a separate subgroup that meets to like at least figure out the direction, and if we need to hire some folks to help with the marketing or put together whatever kind of campaign that hits all these things?
I think we need to,
I think it's multifaceted. There's part of the concept was how do we attract businesses to come into our vacant spaces
Right.
so that we have more of a variety for our community, right? That's one objective. The other objective is how do we promote the businesses that are already here so that people know they exist and have the, you know, the ability to know how to get there easily and park and get there, you know, the marketing message aspect of it. I mean, I think those are the two key areas, right? So how do you bring business in? And then how do you promote the businesses that are here? Those two categories. And I think it needs some I think it needs a deep dive.
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay. Who's willing? I mean, I know Doug's willing to jump in on that. Is anybody else willing to jump in on that? Online, anybody willing to jump in on that effort for the Business Improvement District?
Yeah, I'll do whatever I can to help. And I guess the other question I have is, I know there's a lot of talk about the catalyst zones that are
Mhm.
being developed. When this happens, will that involve someone coming in, or I know most of it talks about housing, but will they come in and say, all right, well, we think this would be a good place for retail? Because I certainly agree with the guys there that, you know, the majority of the people that are going to be moving here, there's not any more land to build homes for people to live downtown in that corridor of town. So most of the residents or your workers are going to be living in the Patrick Square, Country Walk, Monaco, that those subdivisions on that side of town. So it also alleviates traffic if you're not having to drive, you know, say downtown to your office.
Mhm.
If the businesses are going to be out in that corridor area, it alleviates traffic, and it's possible, you know, you have the possibility that you can bike, walk, drive your golf cart to work.
So with the catalyst areas, the first one that's coming up is the city's hiring in the process of interviewing consultants to hold a redevelopment workshop for Uptown, to work with property owners, business owners, residents, and come up with a viable strategy that everybody can agree on of how to move forward with developing Uptown.
What do we think? What is the Uptown region again?
It is.
Please, yes, what is Uptown?
Okay. It is College Avenue and Tiger where they meet up here at the
Okay.
Starbucks.
And it would come
Main
down to
intersection.
maybe Kiwi Trail.
Yep. Yeah.
Kiwi Trail.
Okay.
Or,
Yep.
Got it.
but,
So,
you know,
Okay.
what I think about is every spouse, boyfriend, girlfriend, brother, sister that leaves Clemson and goes somewhere else to work, you know, that's business that's leaving town. That's money leaving town every day.
mhm.
And it's, if we get the big, we'll get plenty small, you know, I mean, that's the way I see this. And COVID showed us all how lack of diversity stings. But, you know, if we get, and I know that business models over COVID have changed, you know, there may never be a big office building built again. You know, but people, that may be over with, but if we could find a way to get that worker that's leaving Clemson every morning and driving somewhere else,
Mhm.
that's what we need to find a way to keep as many of the smart industrial people that instead of leaving town to go to work, they need to work here. And then they spend their money here.
Mhm.
And then they spend their money on retail and hospitality and services. Whereas if they are driving to Greenville every day, they are stopping in Greenville to purchase things and eat. And they're getting their haircut somewhere else. And they're doing all the things that the daily task of life are being done outside our city limits. So the more people we get producing in town, the more money the town will get.
That's
Amen.
how do we recruit and retain businesses?
Yeah.
So what's missing,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Yes.
So are we thinking like office space is what we're missing? Like that type of work is what we're missing?
And you gotta find a way to make it, the space itself is probably not the problem, but you have to entice them somehow. How do you entice? I just got back from Colorado and I purposely went to a couple of the headquarters of brands that I knew and loved and walked in the door and told them who I was. And they don't manufacture the product in the towns.
Mhm.
Like Golden, Colorado was the one I spent the most time in. And I did everything but go into City Hall. And it was like Clemson. Colorado's still a little bit tighter than South Carolina on COVID. But I went into several of the brands, big brands that I like, and it's mostly outdoorsy stuff, and spoke to people in there. And that's the kind, and one of them was in Boulder, not Golden, but it was a shoe manufacturer, shoe company. And they don't build any shoes in Boulder. They can't afford to. But they do have their headquarters in Boulder and employ a lot of people.
Mhm.
Same as,
Well, I'll give you a ripe example that's here and now. We have so many university staff that work in Anderson. They have an office in Anderson. I just catered to them earlier this week. I'm like, really? Why are you in Anderson? So if we had an idea as to how many of those jobs are just kind of located elsewhere because there's no space here, that would be potential to consolidate
and occasionally I think they've moved some Clemson research facilities and joint research facilities have been pet projects of people who maybe lived in Pendleton. And that's why Pendleton got the Ceramic Research Institute. Because it was like, hey, there's some vacant land here. I won't have to drive into Clemson. And that's the good old boy system. And this is years ago. You know, the tweet, you know, the Toxicology Institute out in Pendleton, you know, the Simpson Research Station, you know, you had some people like, hey, we could build this Toxicology Institute here because that way it'll be easier for me, the guy running it. But now it doesn't work that way anymore. You know, you can't, one professor or one director can't sway the university that much anymore. And that's exactly how, you know, some of that stuff got built out there because someone lived out there. But, you know, in the future, if there was a new office or institute the university were to come up with, if it's not in their Greenville location, man, we need to get it to the Clemson location.
Yeah, I think we start with the question, how many research or administration roles are located outside of Clemson that could be located in Clemson if the space were there? I'd like to know that number.
This sounds like a good topic for JCUAB.
I wrote it down.
Okay.
Now, should our main immediate goal be to fill the empty spaces that we have now in lieu of, you know, looking outside of the downtown corridor to possibly entice someone to come in and build, you know, buy land and build a headquarters? You know, what would be the immediate goal? Should we focus on filling what we've got? Because, you know, the issue that comes if we have somebody come out on 93 and buy a piece of land and build an office space there, well, we still have an empty spot in town that everybody says is an eyesore.
I feel like if someone were to build, if some sort of corporation decided that Clemson was right for them and they were to build in one of the outlying corridors and employ, let's just say 400 people or 200 people, but that increase in workers in the city of Clemson will help fill the retail space. If you know, in downtown's retail space is going to be difficult to fill no matter what, because you've got to it's got to be everything you can purchase downtown, you can purchase on the internet. You know, you don't have to go down there. It's cheaper to get it on Amazon than it is to buy downtown. And retail is what we're lacking downtown. So you have to make it enticing. But if we gain good paying jobs in Clemson, then retail will take care of it. You know, retail and service industry, I think, will take care of itself. Now it'll take a while, but it's trying to fill a small storefront. We can offer incentives and we can, you know, do marketing and try to get people down there, but they need customers to stay open. So how do we get the customer? If there's enough customers, we'll fill the retail, we'll fill that space.
So maybe it's worthwhile looking at how much of our existing vacant space could be used for office and focusing on pushing that, getting that filled as office space to start bringing those people in instead of retail.
And I think about the disciplines that are specialties at Clemson: engineering, architecture. I mean, what firms can we pull can we try to attract into the area with some types of incentives to get them to locate here or to have at least a satellite here?
But some of it's gonna be a little bit, and I'm sorry to come in late, I
No,
apologize. It was a city related meeting as well, but it just ran way over. So I'm kind of picking up, trying to catch up where we are. But you know, the university has recruited people with the eye to Greenville for a lot of these jobs and living in specialties. You had the national Council of Engineering Examiners and Surveyors right out here, that they basically enticed to move over there. It was a leased building from them, but they kind of bought them out early so they could utilize that and shift those types of things. Even that's not the university, that was a
huge influence.
huge employer in our area that was high income, high earning, spent money downtown, had conferences, food, hotels, heads in bed.
Graded, they came every summer for grade.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they had their exams all the time and then people in and out and they're getting pushed to Greenville. So it's not just a matter of what can we do to entice. It's, I mean, that's gonna start with a relationship with the university of quit recruiting people to Greenville, because that's what they're doing on it. So it's not just how do we market and sell ours, but how do we flip the switch in their recruiting areas. No one has told me that directly. That's just what I've seen as evidenced and what I've heard anecdotally from different people who were kind of pushed that direction, they felt like. So
The third largest group of people that used to come to the tavern during the summertime were the graders.
Yeah.
The AP exams and for the MCAT and LSAT, there was a bunch of grading that went on, and they would bring in professors from all over the country, and they would stay and they would grade.
that's the only institute in the country that does that.
Yeah, and that was second behind camps and orientation, you know, but that group is, we haven't seen them in a long time now. It's moved on. But that kind of thing, you know, like I said, you know, we got the vacant retail space is visible. The vacant space downtown is visible, but we got to find a way to, you can't just recruit somebody in there for no reason. We have to have a customer for them.
I wonder if there's a way, you know, you're talking about architecture and some of the engineers, the specialty things at the university, and a lot of those professors have their own businesses on the side where they're consulting on the side. Wonder if there's a way to set up, I mean, they might not need an office full-time, but I don't know whose role that would be to come in and set up some sort of office share, kind of like what Eric had done, but maybe it's a different layout. Maybe there's something else they need. I mean, they are already here, but that would anchor them downtown for a portion of their day. Or maybe their clients are coming downtown to meet them for a portion of that day.
I can say from personal experience with a professor whose specialty was the interaction between man and machine. He's a psych professor. He bought a lake house in Anderson on Broadway Lake to incorporate his business at for tax purposes. He did a bunch of consulting work for Disney, and it was not conducive for him to be a business in Clemson.
Okay.
And that's,
Yeah, I mean, I think that's in scope,
Is that
right?
that,
It's in scope.
yeah. So we have to find, if people are going to make money with their intellectual assets, then we can't tax them to Greenville. That's the key. You can't tax them on, you know, their business license based on their revenue or sales, because why would you? I mean, he was able to buy a lake house. Essentially, his lake house was paid for by Disney to make sure you didn't throw up on Space Mountain. That was his specialty. And he did not want to be, he couldn't have his business license in Clemson.
I agree.
You know, and that's part of the process, I think. What incentives can be offered? What is the structure that would enable them to be more profitable here and want to be here to stay for the long term as well? So there's the initial piece, and then there's the ongoing piece that probably has to do with business license and taxation and all those elements. And then just figuring out who we need to be targeting to come. And then identifying ways to get them in.
All the targeting in the world won't do us any good if it's just simply cheaper to do business right across the line in Pendleton. That's simply, you're in Anderson County. That you can beg and plead, but Trail's not going to move their office back here if it's more tax burden than it is in downtown Greenville. And that's why Trail is in downtown Greenville. We need to find a way, if we want to get corporations that will bring enough people and enough money that will fill all our retail space and then some. We have to adjust how we cannot make it, we need to make it beneficial financially for people to work here. And, you know, we're an engineering architecture school, And does anybody know where the architect's offices are in Clemson? There are none.
It's a balance. You can buy them in, but you gotta hold them here and have them living here, and then that comes into what else does the city have to
Yeah.
offer.
Now, there is
So
something
what-
to be
what
said.
other
That's part of,
businesses come in.
there are tentacles to the plan that
Yeah.
kind of build
It's-
communities for these people to want to live
And
here.
that's why they get recruited over
Right.
there is, okay, well, look what you have.
Better
here
place to live
tonight, what
right
you have.
now, but 5 years from now, hopefully we can be talking about it a little bit differently. We've done
Yeah.
something to
Yeah.
change that landscape.
So we got the, it's got to work in tandem. Like I said, you can't just buy it here. You got to.
Yeah, and you
the
can
next
entice
piece.
someone here for a short amount of time, maybe in an incubator.
Mhm.
Maybe you could entice somebody that's straight out of school that's come up with a great idea and they need some space and they need some to get on their feet. But as soon as they look at the profit loss sheet, after they're doing well, they're like, hey, we can move 800 yards in that direction and it will change our profit loss.
Mhm.
So we need to be finding a way to give. And of course, you know, you think of, it's not fair that people are already here, but find a way to everything the city can do to incentivize and make it where there's an advantage to being here instead of a disadvantage. And like most of the businesses that are downtown, they're there because they can't be remote. They can't be far out.
Mhm.
They're service industry, they're hospitality, they're retail for home games and Clemson memorabilia and stuff. But everybody else, you know, the architecture firms, the engineering consultants, you know, why would you take that tax burden? You know, it's easier to just be in Anderson County. So we need to fix that. Because then the people will work here. And when they work here, they spend their money. The big picture is getting.
So let's go down the path of figuring out how do we move this item forward? Who needs to be involved? I think we said the chamber and then business owners from all of these areas, right?
Mhm. And John, we identified, I think, 5 areas of the city, downtown, 123, Patrick Square, 4, and 93, that we try to reach out to all the business owners, and then I end up with at least one representative from each area.
Sure.
We talked about integrating this group, basically having joint ClemsonNext Economic Advisory Board meetings, so everybody's in the same room.
Yeah, there's too many groups going in too many directions.
Yeah.
There ought to be 2. There ought to be a university one, the JCUAB.
And then,
And then, the university has theirs, we have ours, and the JCUAB, and that should be, in my opinion.
I think we nailed the what. It's attracting and retaining as one facet. And the second facet was promoting the existing businesses. That starts with marketing to, you know, whatever kind of activities, promotional activities we get going.
Yeah, and one thing I agree with you as far as promoting, because I think we need to really push and do whatever we can to, for me, example, if my wife and kids, if we want to go out to eat, how can the city incentivize me or promote for me to go eat downtown or at Patrick Square at any of the restaurants in lieu of going to Pendleton Square, going to Seneca, or going to Easley, Anderson, you know, any of those areas. So I think as far as marketing that and keeping that in people's mind, and I think that's certainly a buy local type of advertising, you know, continually doing that.
okay. Nikita and Yolanda, thoughts on this group? The 2 primary things are attracting and retaining businesses and then promoting the existing businesses.
Hi, and sorry for not having my video on the whole time. I'm dog sitting and having to multitask here, but I had the one suggestion about the promotional side of businesses. As a new business owner, I have that lens. So when I spoke to you, Shannon, I mentioned a possible, and this may have happened before, maybe in the works, to have somewhat of a informational vendor type fair or something. And I know we have restrictions with how we collaborate with Clemson on that, but hoping to maybe get some traction on letting people know who exists in Clemson, listening in to what you all are saying. Obviously attracting the people is one side of it, but then getting them to shop locally is another ball game in and of itself. So maybe just possibly having some sort of family like shop local fair type thing for people to know the businesses and services that are in the Clemson area. That's mine.
That means we're getting more robust. I know that's not this group's thing to do, but just like coming from Sumter, chamber very robust. New businesses came along, they were met. There was a group within that chamber that went, welcomed them. And then you had your gatherings, like what you're talking about, that did give people an opportunity to see different things and get plugged in to know who's more. And that would be the ideal vehicle. I don't know how we work around that because it's just,
And the chamber's getting better, but for
I was
years
gonna say,
here,
I know the chamber probably does some things already.
it doesn't.
I also don't know what they, or they don't, or we don't, I don't know what they've done.
From when we moved here as a business to today, it's 180 degrees different.
Yeah.
Meaning now we just need to get some momentum going. I served there too, but I mean, you would agree.
yes. I mean, at one point I dropped my membership because it did nothing. The only time I heard from the chambers when they wanted beer for the golf tournament.
But I think integrating the chamber into this activity will help.
Maybe it bolsters them as well, gives them a
Yes.
mission and
It will
purpose.
help us and it will help the chamber because it'll be a mechanism for them to connect. Because a lot of businesses with COVID just started to flail.
Yeah.
And what's the first thing you do? You drop all those extraneous things. And so now they got to build back. So it's going to be a little bit of time before they can get the momentum. We've got a new president with Susan going back into the business world. We've got a new president who's got a lot of energy and merit. And I think we need to integrate her and the chamber activities and the leadership within chamber into this activity as well.
I mean, we're a PRTM university. Our chamber should be the best chamber in the state.
Right.
I mean, that's just, I mean, we should have resources beyond resources.
Yeah.
And we should have people that are, I mean, there should be a line of students in PRTM at the chamber's door trying to do some project to get the grades.
Oh, I wonder if student involved, see, again, I don't know the restrictions around how to connect bridge Clemson. I'm familiar with the JCUAB, I guess, on some level, but not a whole lot. But about the student, I know we can offer internships and that sort of thing, but also I think that's very helpful resource to be able to have businesses connect with the students on a more personal level than just submitting online. But they could also have some interaction there that may help some businesses have some interns or for the interns to even be able to meet business owners or different service providers who could use the help.
And every student that were to do that might be inclined when they graduate to stay. You know, and it would take you as an example, like she's got it, she's figured it out. I can learn from her and I can do it here too. And that it multiplies.
And Yolanda, also, I've had a really difficult time finding interns to help me, but I was able to finally connect with one of the department chairs on campus to get some marketing interns to help. They have a lot of restrictions on how much you can use interns, but I did finally get one and she's been helping me this year and she absolutely loves it and wants to continue during the school year. So they are a great
business. Yeah, but
exactly.
We kind of did what you did, kind of it went to an individual person. So maybe some kind of pipeline or someone who can be a consistent resource for different.
I agree.
Or
it's
even
been a great.
Yeah,
I totally agree.
Okay, so are we
Right now.
on the,
Yeah, with the JCUAB. I mean, why aren't they?
And for a lot of students that would be very interested in the intern project. It's cost prohibitive because they have to leave a lease that they still have to pay and move somewhere else to get housing. So if there are more
Yes.
internships in the city, that would be more beneficial to the ones that are economically challenged. You know?
Yes. Doug,
Yeah,
Doug, can you hear me?
I can.
Do you know, help me understand, doesn't Patrick Square have like a business vendor market every so often? Is it weekly?
They have a farmer's market that
Yes.
set up there that kind of serves to bring people into the area. So if they're going to the farmer's market, then they're in the area for the other businesses that exist there.
Is there anything like that for us businesses in downtown?
Well, not specifically, but there were things that Cameron and I would tell you are not productive for us that we've done in the past. The city would have art fairs or vendor fairs where people would come in and they would set up their vendor booth in front of the stores on College Avenue, and it would actually detract from the businesses that were there as opposed to be complimentary. A farmer's market idea, I mean, nobody sells produce downtown, right? So, I mean, we haven't really done something that that would fall into that camp. Now, the thing that Lindsay got going on Tuesday nights this year was something that really has been talked about is how do we get, if you're familiar with Seneca, they have Jazz on the Alley every Thursday night.
Yes.
And that has become an economic boom for Seneca. They get 1,200, 1,500 people every Thursday night, even if it's raining. And there's music and there are no competing businesses that set up booths. So all of the restaurants, the bars, the shops, the ice cream, the fudge shop down at the end, they all get a boom out of that Thursday event. And the fact that it just goes from April all the way through October reminds people all the time that those businesses are there. So they get business that kind of pilfers into the rest of the year because they know they're there. That's something that I think the Tuesday night events will do for us downtown here. It doesn't help you and I on Tuesday night. We actually see I see less business on Tuesday when we do the Tuesday on the Avenue than I would on a typical Tuesday. But I think when you bring people and we get that critical mass going, get 1,500 Clemsonites downtown every Tuesday night, they're going to be constantly reminded of how easy it is to get there, how easy it is to park and walk around. And oh, by the way, the yoga place is right up the street.
Now,
Okay.
I'm going to toot my own horn for just a second, but as long as I get city approval, which I will because my contractor's going to get it for me, but we're going to build outdoor bathrooms and I'm going to improve that blacktop parking lot and I'm going to improve the gravel space behind the towers. And when I get that done, so you don't look at a dumpster and some fencing around stuff that doesn't look that good. When I get that done, and I've offered this to the chamber, I've offered this to the city, but I think we should get a competing Saturday farmers market and I'll put it in that blacktop and make it a more family oriented event. And then
I'll help you fund it.
yeah, I mean, you know, and we talked about it, Christmas tree farm there, Christmas tree, but I will.
Bring Tome and let them do that. Now that's their fundraiser for
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah, but no, but like, if we were, Central just started a Saturday market, Patrick Square has a Thursday market, and if we had a Saturday market in downtown, that would bring people for retail. And the key to downtown success is more diverse retail.
Well, the Patrick Square Market is the Clemson Market.
Yeah, I know.
So,
But we could have two. We can make it happen, because if diverse retail is the key to downtown. I need more people going there, different types of people. I don't need just students coming to get hammered at my place. I need diverse retail, diverse shopping downtown. And the way to get that is to get the customer. We have to have a diverse city of spenders. And to get that, we have to have
And
business.
the market season is typically when the students aren't here.
That's right.
So there's a synergy to that too.
spring and summer,
Mhm.
and then the fall take care of itself.
There would be a way if you're gonna do that to kind of work it with Patrick Square, just because it goes back to the age-old thing of the true population of Clemson isn't as large as a lot of places.
Yeah.
And that's what's gonna have to carry this. So making sure we don't dilute both to the point where neither one of them are successful, because that has been the farmer's market. There was nowhere else to put it for
Yeah.
years. So
But
what
you
do we do
know-
to make yours different, or how does it become a compliment, or it's a, hey, come here and then on Thursday go there, or type deal?
Maybe
So-
it's an alternate month or alternate week.
Yeah, I don't know
with
what it is.
the
I'm saying it needs,
locations.
it needs to work very much in tandem with that market, I think, as opposed to in competition.
But the families would be, I think, more inclined to do Saturday mornings,
Yeah.
because they know for a fact that the only students that would get up and then participate would be possibly that healthy, outdoorsy type
The
student.
ones on the way home.
Well, the ones that have gone out Friday night are still gonna be in bed, but the families, the locals would be more inclined. Tuesday night, we're having real good success because it starts out more family oriented, and then as it gets closer to dark, it becomes more student oriented. But Saturday mornings, the logic is those students are still asleep. So we can have a more,
But Saturday mornings, what's open downtown? Like farmers markets are generally like 8 to 11, maybe 8 to 12. What else is open
most
downtown?
places downtown open, retail opens at 10, and most bars, restaurants open at 11.
But I'm just saying, I'm just devil's advocate. If I'm up early because it's hot in the summer and I want to get out of there by 10, I'm not helping anybody else downtown.
Let's just say you get out there by 10, you walk around and do retail at 10 because it's retail opens. And then at 11 o'clock, you decide to get something to eat. You go from farmer's market to retail to dining. That would be how I would try to market it.
Yeah.
Get your shopping done early, grab something to eat, get a beer, and see you later.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's just,
I think the other thing would be if you're having a Thursday and a Saturday, I don't know if we have enough local farmers to, or you're gonna have to do a lot of outreach and a lot of work to get them in, because if they've already got market days, there's already basically 4 market days.
we could
in
not
the
sell a thing. I mean, we could somehow organize, I don't know, some sort of charitable entering in contest, every other Saturday downtown.
Well, and to Shannon's point, and maybe this is where your dry goods and your restaurants all need to work with it a little bit, because I do think about a Saturday farmer's market. Yeah, I'm probably out of there by 8:30. I'm
Yeah.
done and on the way out. So maybe they'll open at 9, and then the restaurants, everybody move up an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, let's
Yeah.
do this, because, typical Saturday for a lot of families around here is 10 to stuff by 8:30, 9, 10, hit the water, hit out of town, hit Highlands, hit whatever.
Or the other idea is to have something completely not retail and no sort of revenue generating, something we'd spend money on downtown. Something the city, the chamber, the downtown merchants, whatever, we go in together and spend money on something. Whether it be a cornhole tournament or some sort of outdoor activities for children,
Those inflatables,
those
inflatables
inflatables, so something like that would bring,
in your parking lot.
yeah. I mean, just take the blacktop, because we can do that without interrupting traffic flow.
Right.
And then put something on it that's gonna cost us money, but hopefully bring people downtown. Instead of trying to sell something and have vendors, we'll have
An attraction.
a pet parade. I don't know. I'm not that guy. I'm not the idea guy, but
So you
someone,
got the space, and
I
you
got
should
the
figure out how to
space.
utilize it to bring people in
Yeah.
on Saturday morning.
and not try to sell anything, but try to
A draw.
give away something, give away entertainment.
Work with the arts and let them have little arts,
Yeah.
crafts type things.
Yeah. Or camp,
classes,
some sort of
Day camp, come down.
a history exhibition, some sort of science learning expedition, something that people would say, hey, let's take our kids down to this, like a miniature, like exhibits or something.
Make a summer series and just
Yeah.
go ahead and lay them all out so people know what's coming
Yeah.
each week. And
You could if you're looking at that, the library runs a great program where they bring in the guy with the reptiles. He brings all his reptiles
Yeah.
and stuff for kids. It's different every week.
Yeah,
reptiles, summer heat,
it's
black
all-
top, they'd be good.
I don't know, you could do it different. You could do it early in the morning, but you could do there's different groups you could bring in and showcase them, and then people come down here to see the group, and then they stay
Yeah.
and do the other things.
it would be costly, but it would be beneficial, Whereas if it's a
Be an
market,
investment, it wouldn't be cost of.
that's right. Well, like if it was a market of some sort, even if we didn't charge for the space, you just had to sign up for it, to entice people to be vendors there. It wouldn't cost much because the vendors would set up their own stuff. But if this, we would have to. And I don't know the right activity. I'm not hip and cool. I don't know. But we could do something. We can utilize that space. I'm gonna fix it. I'm gonna make it nice. It's been a long time.
I think we're coordinating with Lindsay and Lindsay because they both have pretty good ideas
Yes.
on events and
They do.
downtown things
They do.
too, and kid oriented as well, which is kind of what will draw the parents and grandparents' wallets.
I mean, touch a truck, it'd be easy enough for the city itself to bring out, one day you could park 14 pieces of equipment in the blacktop and have touch a truck.
Yeah.
That would be cheap.
Mhm.
Besides overtime, we get the drivers and operators to bring it there. But you can do something that comes to mind, those are always successful. And I think they do one at Nettles once a year. They used to before COVID.
All right, guys, so we are a little bit after 11. Are we set for today? We
Yeah, I
got
think
some
so.
marching orders to go forward online. Everybody good?
Yes.
All right, thank you all for joining us. I will recap this, send it out, and
We'll see what you can do to remember what we
see
said here.
if I can read my notes.
Yeah.
You guys correct them for me and let me know. All right, we're gonna stop recording here.